have. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to announce to you a very wonderful personality is going to be taking us on building an attitude of curiosity. He is the keynote speaker. So let me just quickly say something about our keynote speaker. His name is Andrew Alli. Please, I'd like him to step up. Please, a round of applause for him. Please keep clapping until he gets up. Is the immediate past CEO, African Finance Corporation, Advisory Board member, Lagos Business School, former non-executive director of GTB Bank PLC, MBA Insert, Bachelors of English, King's College, London. Is a development financier, a general management, a principal investment project development person, is an investment banker on advisory level, accounting and counseling, and principally in Africa with experience in South Asia, Latin America, and Europe. Please join me as I welcome Andrew Alli.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for that introduction. I didn't quite recognize the person that was being introduced, but hopefully I can meet up to expectations. I was asked to speak today about building an attitude of curiosity. And of course, the first thing that came to my mind was the popular saying, which I learned very early in my life, that curiosity killed the cat. Luckily for me, I quickly learned also the second part of that saying, which is less known, which is that satisfaction brought it back. Curiosity is important. Where would we be today, for example, if Newton had just eaten the apple that fell on him, rather than thinking about, why did it fall on him? Or where would we be in medicine today if Fleming had thrown away those Petri dishes where the fungus had come and eaten the bacteria? We wouldn't have maybe discovered antibiotics, or not as quickly as we did. Curiosity, I think, has been a very important part of my own life and my own self-development. I started reading voraciously when I was a young person because I just wanted to find out about the world. I then went into engineering, mainly because I wanted to learn how things worked. I did electrical and electronics engineering, and I just wanted to know how these, electronic miracles, computers, that sort of stuff actually worked. That has been the sort of coda of my life's experience. After university, unfortunately, I graduated at a time where the world economy wasn't, doing very well. And, I started to wonder, what's driving all this? Where's all this, bad news coming from? And that sparked my curiosity about the worlds of economics, finance, investing, and led me to do an MBA. And then that got me into the world of financing. And then, for the last 20 years, I've been working on essentially financing projects across the developing world, mainly Africa, but as was said in the introduction, some other parts of the developing world. And really, again, whatever success I've had in my career has really been driven by thoughts about how can we do this better? Why does this work? And really trying to understand the nuts and bolts of things. So the point is that really, I think some sort of underlying curiosity and constantly being open to new ideas and new thoughts has led me to having the experiences and the success that I have had to date. This is a conference about education. I'm not a professional educator, but from my experience and knowledge, education needs to do a number of things, which include not just obviously teaching a basic set of knowledge that we can all understand, so the homework that our MC was teaching. But also I think, and especially in this day and age, teaching people actually how to learn new things, because, you know, once you leave school, the need to learn does not go away. In fact, to some extent, it actually accelerates. And also giving people the tools to explore. So, I mean, it's one thing to sort of be curious about whatever it is, but you need to be able to read, you need nowadays to be able to understand how to, you know, go on the internet and use, I don't know, Wikipedia or Google to find out about these things. You need to be able to connect with people to learn more. Those are all skills that we need to be teaching our young people. In the modern world, where technology is advancing so quickly, this is particularly important. The fact is that most jobs that people will be doing in 10 to 20 years' time do not exist today. I mean, even, you know, 10 years ago, no one had heard of, you know, a social media personality. No one was, you know, selling goods on Instagram. These are all new things that have come up, and one can only imagine what is going to happen in the next 10 to 20 years. And if that is the case, which I firmly believe, we actually don't know what to teach people. We don't know the specific skills to teach people that they will be able to use in 20 years' time. You may teach them about artificial intelligence, and actually it may turn out that actually it's sort of bioengineering that is really the skill you need to know. So we need to be able to teach people not just the particular skills, but also how to adapt and how to learn and how to cope with how the world is going to change. This, I think, is going to have to be driven by a certain degree of curiosity. It doesn't only end where we're teaching children. It also is with us, because, you know, to be frank, again, even for us, and for us who have already gone through school and who have passed a certain age, it's perhaps even more difficult because our brains are less plastic. But for us, the world is also changing, and how we adapt to that is very important. So we as well need to maintain that degree of curiosity, that degree of openness as to how can we do things differently, how can we improve things. This is, I think, also particularly important here in Nigeria, where, to be frank, even the way we're doing things today is not working very well. I mean, one always opens the newspapers and reads different, you know, frankly, frightening statistics. The number of children out of school, for example. I mean, I read somewhere that it's 13 million who are out of school, which is actually the highest number of any country in the world. The number of people in absolute poverty, again, Nigeria is racing to be the world champion in this, you know, not a world championship we want to have, you know, unlike the football junior World Cup that's going on right now. You know, so we need to think about and we need to question, what is it that we're doing today? How can we change it? how can we make things better? You know, what tweaks can we do? We can't just accept doing things the way we have done them to go forward. We need to think about how can we change. We also need to think about, given what I was saying, what can we be doing to equip our children to deal with the world in the 21st century or even the 22nd century? Because the world is not standing still. So we need this. Now, the difficult thing is, how can we build an attitude of curiosity? That is, I think, not so easy. But my own suggestions are around the following. One is to start very early. I think, trying to encourage people to be curious, trying to answer questions, not stifling these things. When I was, I'm sure things have changed, but when I was in primary school back in the 1970s, we were just required to cram various things and not really to ask questions. When I look at how my daughter is being educated today, that is different, and I think we need to continue to make that different. We also need to think about how to reward curiosity, and I believe that also if we are ourselves curious people, then that will be infectious towards the people we're dealing with. It's difficult anyway, doing things in Nigeria and running schools. I can only imagine the level of difficulty. So, trying to think about these kind of things when you don't have the luxury of, having a system that, maybe works in your favor, may be difficult, but we need to try. And this, for example, is why I like what the gentlemen in Edves are trying to do, because they have, come with a certain degree of curiosity themselves and said, how can we make running schools, education easier for the people who are doing it? How can we take a lot of stress off their hands? And, those questions, I think, led to this platform which they are operating and which is growing, and I believe adds a lot of value to those schools who have been using it. And to me, anything that adds value to schools and education is very important. I'll round up now by just giving you a couple of quotes from different ends of the spectrum. So the first one is by Stephen Hawking, and he says, "Look up at the stars and not down at your feet. Try to make sense of what you see and wonder about what makes the universe exist. Be curious." That's from the world of physics, very high-end physics, which I'd be surprised if, well, certainly I don't understand, but it's very important. This is from the world of art and entertainment, on the other hand. We keep moving forward, opening new doors and doing new things because we're curious, and curiosity keeps leading us down new paths. That was by Walt Disney. So curiosity, I think, is an important attribute for everybody, no matter what you're trying to do. If you're trying to expand boundaries, if you're trying to move, if you're trying to grow, if you're trying to develop. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your immense contribution. And for this fact, I'd like to invite Dimeji Falana for the presentation of an award of excellence to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Andrew Alli. Thank you very much. Mr. Andrew Alli is speaking an award today, being a mentor for the founders. He has been our mentor. He has been a foundation in Edves, giving us ideas on finance and everything. And every time we call on him, he will always answer us. If you send him a mail within 3 minutes, he will reply. Thank you very much, Mr. Andrew Alli. So this is for you.